Season finale of Behind the Glass, season 1 is kind of full circle because Dave Dolecki was the first podcast episode. Now we have someone who trained both of us, Mat Robson. Thank you for coming on the show. Season finale. Thank you so much. That's an honor.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
So, Matt, we both were trained by Dave. He was the first episode of the podcast. So what was your most memorable moment with Dave and how has he helped you as a goalie?
Memorable moment. I mean, it's been training with him for about 20 years now. So it would be very, very hard to narrow down one. I mean, he's a close family friend now with, my parents. My siblings have both been at the camps shooting. Obviously, I've spent hours, probably days total, just hanging out with him. I think some of the most memorable times are, just being in what we call the incubator, as the small ice, the little competitions that we'd have and the advice he would give and the stories we would tell, even before or after we were on the ice. A lot of those conversations really just stick with me. And a big reason why, I've never really trained anywhere else. I've always wanted to go back and train with Dave and Boo and everyone at the crease. And I guess full circle for me as well to join them on their staff for a little bit in the summertime and train goalies. And, as an adult now, obviously kind of understanding a little bit more about what they were trying to teach me as a hard-headed kid at some points. Yeah, I don't think I could pick one moment, but just, the whole journey in itself and just seeing them every day has just been so special to me and to my path.
Amazing. Do you see coaching and playing, Matt, as different? Because you're as a professional goalie, when you coach kids, you see the position differently now?
For sure, yeah. I think it's given me a new perspective, kind of even watching my own footage. You see a lot more tendencies from different goalies, what works and what doesn't, as opposed to just looking at yourself and maybe thinking like, this will work eventually, or this is how I do it. It's got to be right. Like I said, like you're a kid. Sometimes you think you know everything. And to have another set of eyes on you kind of tweaking and, whether it's good or bad, I feel like the feedback is always positive. So on the coaching side of it, to be able to give that to other kids kind of makes you take a step back and reevaluate your game at the same time. And like I said, it's just a fresh perspective. I've enjoyed obviously playing as much as possible, but coaching was also really, really cool. And to be able to do that with, two unbelievable mentors of mine in the summertime is really, really fun.
Right. I call Dave like the Johnny Carson of minor hockey goalies. He's like, for people who don't know, Johnny Carson he did the Tonight Show on NBC for 30 years and everybody goes to him. Right, in entertainment. They did.
He's a staple, right? I mean, being in Etobicoke, as you know, that's a hotspot arena. You got every tournament in the summertime. You got every tournament in the wintertime. And the crease is right there all the time. Dave knows everybody. Everybody knows Dave. Everybody loves Dave. And he knows what he's doing. I think, he's had that success for a reason. It's well earned and just lucky to be a part of it, to be honest.
Yeah, he's the best. Okay, Matt, you grew up in Mississauga. I did as well. When did you realize hockey was going to be an important piece in your life? And then when did you decide to become a goalie?
I think right away, probably much like yourself, right? You start skating at a young age, basically right after you learn how to walk. And I have an older sister, 3 years older than me, and she's a very gifted skater. She played, at college as well. And I remember going out for one of the first sessions, and obviously you're going to fall over and barely be able to move out there. And she was skating circles around me. And I just remember not loving it because I was like, as a kid, you always want to be just good at everything you do right away. I mean, I still kind of have that. So, but I mean, right away, obviously being in and around Toronto and Mississauga, everyone at that time was playing hockey. All my friends played hockey. In the wintertime, we were playing mini sticks in the basement. In the summertime, we were playing road hockey outside. So we always had a stick in our hands. And to be a middle child, obviously, I had the older sister who was already doing it and a younger brother who I could, compete with at the same time as well. So I think I knew probably around 7 years old that that's what I wanted to do like forever. You don't really realize that it could be a career when you're that age. You just want to play for as long as possible, as I'm sure you know. So yeah, just right away, really fell in love with the game and still am trying to get everything I can out of it and, give back to it at the same time. And whether it be playing or watching or, coaching, it's something I love to do. I don't think that'll ever change. As for being a goalie, it's kind of a wild one. We were, I think 7 years old, maybe 8 on, how when you play at that age, like novice, you're kind of on like these select teams from house league. Like, so I played Timbits hockey. And so my dad was ultimately the coach of the select team. And so I made that team and was a forward for a little bit. I don't think I was very good. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have let me switch. But I think our goalie bailed on us one day, didn't want to play anymore. We're going into some tournament against a really, really good team. I don't know if you know the Duffield Devils.
Yes, yeah.
From back in the day. Yeah. So they were in this tournament, and our age, they were like really, really good. And they were essentially going to become the Toronto Marlboros as we got older in the AAA team there. And so the coach comes in, my dad. He's like, all right, like, who wants to go in net? And I remember shooting my hand up because I had so much fun playing net every time you get the opportunity in Timbits with the rotation. So shoot my hand up to go in net. And I'm pretty sure he looked at me and was like, no chance. Like, you're not going in net. But luckily nobody else, I guess, volunteered. So in net I go and played really well and kind of never came out. And that's how I got my opportunity to, I guess, scouted, if you want to call it that. It just kind of luck of the draw at that age to play against a team and a coach that I would ultimately play for the next 6 years in the Toronto Marlboros. And yeah, I'm glad I did, because love it. Like, I love everything about the position. Even, people think you're crazy for taking pucks off the head sometimes, but they don't understand the gear is really good nowadays. So yeah, it doesn't hurt as much as you'd think. And it's funny. I always say too, like, the forwards, like, they call us crazy for being in front of the puck, but the forwards have way less gear on, and they're expected to block shots as well. Like,
right.
I know I've seen some of those bruises firsthand. I don't get them that big, but it is what it is. That's hockey, and it's phenomenal. The position has taught me so much. I'm glad I ultimately made the decision.
Did you ever think, Matt, your career would be in this way? You played OJHL, you played BCHL, you went to Minnesota in the NCAA. Did you ever think your career path would be that way?
It's been a ride. It's been a roller coaster for sure. Obviously, Dave was one of my biggest believers and supporters. He always said, like, this kid's guy, he's going to be a pro. He's going to be a pro. And, hearing someone of, that stature talk about you that way to other people gives you confidence, and at the same time, a little bit of motivation to maybe prove them right. Like I said, like, love Dave. I wanted to prove him right. So I worked at it. And obviously, getting drafted to the OHL after playing 7 years for the Toronto Marlboros was, at that point, a dream come true. And then with the injuries, having to come back to the OJ and then reevaluating options and ultimately deciding to go the NCAA route, which would have been a whole lot easier had I, been 16 today with all these new rules. But ultimately played in the OJ, got a scholarship to go to school, and had to serve out the suspension and, the whole 9 yards. And it took me to the BCHL, which I loved, had an unbelievable time out in the West Coast. Met some amazing people, and, Coach Fred Harbinson was phenomenal, and we had a good team, and we had some success there, which, people want players from winning programs. So I ended up going to, NCAA Division I at the University of Minnesota, which in my opinion is the best school in the country. No bias, and had an unbelievable 2 years there, off and on the ice. Really fun, and was fortunate enough to sign an NHL contract. And like I said, it's been a ride. Even like to get there, it was an absolute ride. And since then, it's almost been, even more of a whirlwind. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm just grateful for all the opportunities hockey's, allowed me to experience.
Yeah, I always say, Matt, for young goalies today, to make the NHL is obviously a dream come true, 1 in a million. But maybe the goal should be, or could be, trying to get education paid for and play for
sure,
a school, right? Either university in Canada or college in NCAA. Why Minnesota, Matt, in NCAA? Was there a particular reason, or what went into your decision process there?
Yeah, I think obviously the school itself, the program speaks for itself. They've, over 100 years of really, really good hockey. The campus is beautiful. It's a big city. It's right in Minneapolis, which I love, obviously, being a Toronto kid. And then, the coaches and the people within the school, you have these conversations and you just kind of trying to find the right fit for you. It seemed like, the right fit for me, and ultimately it was. And then obviously the facilities are just insane. Like, you go there and you're treated like royalty. Very, very lucky to have been able to experience that and been a part of that program. If if anyone watching this has the opportunity and they're talking to Minnesota, I would really consider it. It's a really great place to play, and the fans are passionate. The city's a lot of fun. It's the land of 10,000 lakes, so it's a beautiful place to play. Winters are much like Canada, so it wasn't too much of a difference for me. And yeah, no, I had a really, really good time there. I got nothing but good things to say about Minnesota.
What was the biggest adjustment, Matt, from junior hockey to like NCAA?
I think for me, I was always a skinny kid. So for me, it was probably the expectations in the weight room. You have world-class strength and conditioning coaches all over the country, but especially in Minnesota. Cal Dietz was phenomenal. And just, getting used to the routine of you got to get your work in, you go to class, you go to practice, maybe you go to class again, and just trying to find that discipline of, working out, playing well, recovering, eating, and studying. It's a lot for anyone. And I think Minnesota does a great job at, giving you all the tools you need to succeed. They did for me. And just, I would say the schedule and the discipline. In junior hockey, you have so much free time, especially when you're finished high school. You really it's kind of up to you how serious you want to take things. And if you're lucky enough to get a scholarship and go to Division I, you have a lot less time. So you really got to manage it. You got to manage yourself, your body, your recovery, the fun. Obviously, you're in college, you're going to have fun at some times. You got to be able to know when you got to sacrifice a night out for a morning in the gym, but that's just part of it. And I think you go through that, they're all learning experiences. And, like I said, it worked out for me. It was phenomenal. I had so much fun.
Yeah. Do you have moments, Matt, where during the season, you work with Dave or a goalie coach, or you would change your game like throughout the year, and how would that look like? How did development look like in that period?
Yeah, I think changing the game is not, I wouldn't say we changed the game a whole lot. Dave is always lucky enough to have worked with him from a young age, right? So he's molded me into his, vision of a goalie. And I, like we were talking about just before this, like love Carey Price. So just to be able to watch someone and try and model your game after one of the best of all time, just technically so sound. Dave is really good at the technical side of things. He's good at everything, but to really dial in the technical side of things. I remember one summer we did power skating. I would go out on the ice for an hour. We wouldn't even use pucks. We would just be skating and, trying to dial in these routine, the fundamentals essentially. But one of the biggest things I think was as I got older, we were able to bounce ideas back and forth off of each other. So for example, I think maybe at around 15 years old, the RVH started to really become a thing. Instead of going, VH and getting scored on 5-hole or, far side over the shoulder, you start incorporating the RVH, and thankfully, I had a growth spurt and was able to kind of fill up a little bit more of the net. So we were able to utilize that more. And there was a learning curve to it, but he's just always had his thumb on the pulse. And whether something works or doesn't work, we're going to try it out. We're going to see why it may not work, why it does work. And it may not work for every goalie, but we're going to at least see it through. And I think just being able to, like I said, bounce ideas and have real conversations about the position is the biggest thing. I wouldn't say changing the game. I would say really learning and understanding the game is a big thing. And to be able to grow up with Dave the entire time, you find that level of comfort, whether you can say like, I want to try this, or I really don't think that works. And to have the trust with each other to listen and to follow through, that would probably be the biggest thing. Yeah. So.
Right. That makes sense. Can you walk us through, Matt, kind of like your day? Because you said like there's a lot of time like in between. So what's a normal day in your schedule playing, I guess, NCAA or even the NHL we'll talk about in a minute?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for the NCAA, really like for 2 years, it was wake up, whether you had a 8 a.m. class, depending on your schedule, right? Like everything is always worked off the schedule. You have academic advisors who organize your classes around practice time, because practice time is always set in stone. So my first year was around noon. So we'd wake up. I would have an 8 a.m. class most days, probably followed up by like a 10 a.m. class, get to the rink at least an hour before practice. Sometimes, it's a battle, but everyone's understanding we're in school and ultimately school comes first. You got to stay eligible. So you practice, and then typically you would either work out in the morning or you'd work out after practice. No matter what, you're getting that in. Depending on the type of week it was, whether it was a strength or speed or a download week, you're getting a workout in. And then sometimes I would have night classes to kind of lighten the load in the morning. Sometimes not. Sometimes you get everything done before practice or after. It's just kind of one of those things. And you're on the ice most days. You get the occasional day off, typically on a Sunday, because you're playing Friday, Saturday. So you practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. either play the home game on Friday or you'd be traveling Thursday night. And then you get your weekend series against whoever it may be, while obviously trying to finish any assignments or homework that you may have outstanding or do or whatever it is. You're trying to stay proactive, which ultimately that was a learned skill, I think, for most guys, myself included, is being proactive and not leaving things to the last minute and stressing out so that you can ultimately just focus on hockey. And the dream, obviously, we're chasing NHL. So to be able to play with a clear mind, you got to be proactive. And like I said, discipline and time management, it's all super important. And then, it's pretty much like that for the whole season. You'll get your Sunday off. You'll hang out with the guys as much as you can and, build that team camaraderie. And other than that, really, like you're kind of just on a schedule the whole time. So I think it's a good routine and it's a good thing for young kids to have.
What an experience. That's super cool. Oh, an experience.
It was great.
Speaking about the NHL, Matt, so you signed with the Minnesota Wild. I think it's every goalie's dream to sign an NHL contract. Walk us through that experience, signing that contract, the feelings leading up to it, and even afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess starting with the year following Penticton, I was invited to my first NHL development camps. And that was kind of my first taste of that world and maybe realizing like, hey, like we can maybe really make something happen here. I always had that belief, but if you don't get drafted at 18, some people might call it a write-off. So as a 20-year-old going to my first camp and really getting an experience of that was really, really cool. And then obviously going into Minnesota, being in the Wild's backyard, they were able to watch a few games. So after that first year, I went to a couple NHL development camps. So that was a busy summer. I ended up going to Minnesota for the week and then right away went to Chicago just to, play as much as possible and be seen as much as possible. And always knew I was going to go back for the second year at Minnesota. And then, that second year, things really started to pick up. My agent was calling me almost every week with, teams and information. And it was really, really cool. I think the biggest thing is obviously not letting it get to your head and not getting too high or cocky or complacent, whatever it may be. It was a really cool experience. Ultimately, it obviously feels good. My family was super happy to be able to bounce back and forth with them. Close enough in Minnesota, they were able to come over a lot, and they met the GM of a few teams and had conversations with teams as well as I did, and because they're a huge part of the decision for me, and I wanted them as involved as possible. Still do, really, to this day. We're very close, but it was wicked just to have teams like coming after you. Like it was cool when I was deciding where I wanted to go to college, and then NHL teams are calling you and competing to get you to come to their team. It was really cool, and ultimately decided on Minnesota. Just loved what they had to offer, the things they were saying, the fact that I was super familiar with Minnesota and I was already in the state, I think kind of helped as well. So it was awesome. Incredible experience. Very cool.
What surprised you, Matt, in that experience the most, attending these development camps, like at a pro level?
Just how good some of these players are, right? Like you play against your league a lot of the time, and then you go to these development camps and you see players you've never played against or heard of, whether they're older or younger than you. It's like they're just really, really good at that level. So it's a little bit of an eye-opener. You got to get yourself to it. Like you get motivated to compete. Obviously, you want to compete against the best, but to be able to actually do it, it shows you what you need to work on and how much work you need to put into it. I think obviously you go to these development camps and they're teaching you about nutrition. They have guest speakers coming in, telling their life experiences. It's just a really, really cool experience as a whole to listen to these people who have been through what you're about to embark on and just trying to soak in as much as possible, heed their advice and put it into action. I love it. It was awesome. Those are some of the best times.
Again, yeah, it's such a cool story. It's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so you go through that path and then you've played, Matt, everywhere. I was searching this morning, North America, Germany, France, Poland, now in the UK. What's the difference between like all of these countries and the leagues and And has it shaped you into a person, a goalie too?
For sure, yeah. Any experience will kind of mold you a little bit. The leagues are, they're different in terms of skill and in terms of type of play style. Like, for example, obviously you go over to Germany playing in the Dell, it's very, very high pace, a lot of skill, very, very good league, one of the top leagues over in Europe. And then compare it to, somewhere like France, which is maybe a little less physical, a little more skill, maybe not as seen as good of a league, but it's still a phenomenal professional hockey league and really, really good players, great teams, great organizations. I had an unbelievable time there. I was lucky enough to live in the south of France in a place called Anglet, which was right above Biarritz. It's on the west coast of France, above Spain. People are surfing 12 months a year. Just an absolutely beautiful spot. And then you compare that to somewhere like where I am now in the UK, where we have 15 imports. So there's a lot of North Americans over here. It's a lot more like playing back in North America with a dump and chase, really heavy play style. But the difference is so minuscule, right? Like it's really preference for a lot of players, where they want to play, who they want to play with, whether they know people. For me, being over here, I've really enjoyed my time just seeing the league develop, even from my first year to now going into my third year. Hockey is really starting to expand and boom over here. People are really falling in love with the game. They're, becoming more aware of it. They love the physicality, the skill, the speed, just going to the rink and seeing players. And one of the biggest differences, I guess, is in terms of like scale, where obviously you're in the Dell, you're playing in front of, full stadiums. Here, maybe not as big of a stadium, but you get more of a personal feel with the fans. You do a lot of, events in the cities and things like that. So depending from league to league, like there's obviously differences. It just really depends on what you like, what you're looking for, and where you're comfortable, right? Like you in Germany, unfortunately was injured and didn't have a phenomenal year numbers wise. And then over here you do, and you kind of ask yourself, like, what's the difference? And it might just be circumstance, right? Like sometimes the puck hits the post, sometimes it goes bar down. It's just the way it goes.
All right.
And as a goalie yourself, you know all about that, right?
Right. That's a great way to describe it. Because I was going to ask you, which country or league was the most challenging?
In terms of challenge, obviously, like playing against the NHL players, they're just, second to none. But going over to Germany during COVID, my first time playing over in Europe, I think that was just a whole new experience for me. Just that year was kind of an anomaly, right? Like with COVID, you spend a lot of time on your own. There's all these rules and protocols that you're following. It was just a weird situation. And, I just happened to be in Germany. It was the same thing going on all over the world, right? So just kind of one of those things. But I think they all present different challenges in themselves. As a goalie, like, we've been through a whole lot. Good games, bad games. You got to stay even keeled and not really get too high, not get too low, and just kind of let the game come to you. And it's the same thing with life in all these different countries. You just kind of got to let it come to you and take it day by day. And that's just kind of how I try and live my life. And it seems to be, it works. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's definitely working, because every time you're going to a different spot, man, it's the same with goaltending. You're adjusting. You're adjusting to a new place, new city, new team, new environment, right? It's basically...
That's goaltending, right? You're just adapting. Yeah.
Yes, that's really cool. If a young goalie had the opportunity to go play in Europe, like profession, what advice would you give them?
Go in with an open mind, for sure. Like there's going to be some differences, right? Like you're going to get a bit of a culture shock depending on where you're going. I think, do your research beforehand so you can kind of prepare yourself as much as possible. But like I said, ultimately, it's just going to come at you. Advice would be call your friends, call your family back home, stay in touch. I think that was a learning experience for me during COVID. I was very lucky. My teammate was my neighbor, Jeremy Williams, an unbelievable guy. He really kind of took me under his wing. As a young kid, I was 24 years old at that time. Didn't really know what was going on. Wasn't a great chef. Would just try and eat simple meals. And like I said, he took me under his wing and made sure that I was okay that year. With the injuries and everything like that, not being able to play for most of my time over there, it can get isolating. So just to have that, if I didn't have him, it would have been even more difficult for sure. So learning to, try and definitely stay in touch, like relationships and interaction we need it, right? Like maybe you think you don't. Maybe you think like you're an introvert and you can be on your own a little bit, like I did. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, being able to have people that you can call and stay in contact with, and just be able to talk about something other than hockey is it's a really important thing. You gotta be well balanced in your life and in your relationships. So that would be one thing, and I'm sure all the moms around the world are ecstatic. Like, call your mom, you know what I mean? Call your mom every day and check in. So
Right. Wow, that's great advice. So about mindset, Matt, how do you reset after a difficult game or like stretchy games?
I think, like I said, like you gotta like be balanced in life. Like there's other things going on. Some guys have kids, and being like playing with someone who's had kids before, to listen to them talk about how like they can have a bad game and be a little angry on the car ride home, but as soon as they walk in the door, like everything changes. You can't bring that home with you. I think just hearing that perspective, even though I don't have I don't have kids, but just to hear that perspective, it kind of like opens your mind to like, okay, yeah, it's not be all end all. You're gonna get to play again. Tomorrow the sun will rise. The earth is still turning. Your parents still love you. Your friends still love you. You're not a bad person because you had a bad game. You're still the same person you were before that game, whether it went great or it didn't. I think obviously the praise and the celebrations are a lot of fun. Like for me, that's a lot of the reason why I play, is to get hugged by 18, 19, 20 guys at the end of the game. I love that. And to when you lose, obviously you kind of just like fist bump, head down, skate off the ice. But I think knowing that ultimately you're all in it for the same thing, you're all on a team, hopefully you're playing with good people who are going to uplift you, because not every day is going to be great. You're going to go through slumps personally. You're going to go through slumps as a team. You're going to go on runs personally and as a team. And I think staying even keeled throughout the whole thing, like we spoke about it a little bit earlier, you don't get too high, you don't get too low. And then to just be able to be confident in yourself. Like that's one thing. If we, credit my parents for instilling confidence in me and my siblings. I know that ultimately give up 5 one night. My dad always goes, you don't have 2 bad ones in a row. Go get yourself a donut the next game. And, it whether it happens or not, the belief is the big part of that. So I think just, like I said, just believing in yourself, staying confident, knowing that you've done what you've done to get to where you are will help you continue to move forward and find success.
Right. I like that line, man. Like not too high, not too low. I think Robert De Niro said that too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably. I'm definitely not the first.
That's awesome. Last question, Matt, before we play a quick hit. What does being a professional goalie mean to you today?
Everything. I mean, it means like a culmination of all my hard work, all the sacrifice that my parents put in. It's, my sister and my brother trying to score goals on me when we were 8 years old, competing against them in the basement and always being the goalie in mini sticks. To be able to do this for a living, to be able to meet people around the world, to be able to earn a living and live obviously we stress about hockey, as we just talked about, like, trying to stay even keeled, but to live a relatively stress-free life and understand that, a bad game is like one of the least, important issues in the world. You know what I mean? To really take a step back and realize like I'm playing a kid's game for a living. It's just a blessing. I'm gonna do it until the wheels fall off. I'm having a blast. I'm doing everything I can to stay young, keep the body good, because I don't want to stop playing. I don't want to stop going to the rink and seeing some of my best friends every single day, telling jokes, competing. You go through triumphs and heartbreaks. It's all a part of it. It's been such an experience, and I'm looking forward to, every single day moving forward. And these new experiences that are about to come up this year, moving to a new team, is just super, super exciting. And like I said, it means the world to me. And it's funny, my mom, I was at home for a couple weeks this summer. So I was visiting my parents, and my mom was, excited for me to get back over here and for the season to start, because she doesn't know what to do with her Saturday afternoons when I'm not playing hockey, like they got their routine as well. They love to watch me play, and I feel the support. And even to the next generation now, like I got a niece and nephew who are watching. And my sister, my niece is turning 4 in about a month's time. And, she's starting to recognize me on the ice. And, I see the videos after the game of them filming her watching me. And it's just like I can't even describe the feeling. It's so cool. So to do it for my parents, my friends, and, now my niece, nephew, my siblings, it's like I said, it's just the dream come true, and it's a blessing.
Really cool. Okay, let's end off with this, Matt. So quick hits, 5 or 6 questions. We've done this every episode. So this is the last one of season 1. Pretty cool. So we've done this 16 times. Okay.
We'll try and make it a good one to end off here.
Yeah, best for last year. Okay. Hardest shooter you faced?
Brandon Alderson. And I can't believe I'm giving him credit right now. It's my boy. He's from Oakville. But wow, what a bomb. Absolute bomb.
Wow. Toughest arena you've ever played in?
Ooh, probably Wisconsin. The Kohl Center in Wisconsin, going into there and playing the Badgers with Minnesota. It's a huge college rivalry. You go behind the net to play the puck and it feels like the glass is almost leaning over on you. In the student section, they're banging on the glass that hard. Yeah, undefeated there though. But yeah, really, really cool experience.
Wow. Best teammate you've had?
Impossible to answer that. Impossible. I've met so many great guys. The list is endless.
Favorite pregame meal?
Ooh, I've kind of been on a steak kick now. Now I'll do like steak and potatoes. I used to love chicken and rice with like a tiny little bit of garlic and butter, not too heavy. But now I'm like ripping a steak and potatoes. I absolutely love it. Sweet potatoes, I love it. I'm listening to Nathan McKinnon talk about it, and that guy's doing something right. So
yeah. Oh, that's good. That's a good idea. Okay, second last one. One goalie every young goalie should watch.
Carey Price for sure. I mean, there's a lot of kids in the NHL today who I'm sure modeled their game after him. He's just unbelievable, and he's my favorite. So
I'm going to go on a campaign, Matt, because I said this last episode. I'm like, come on, like podcast Carey Price. I even sent him a video, which is interesting. But yeah, he'd be awesome.
You should have some free time. He's retired now.
Yeah, I guess.
But no, he's the man. Watching him play, some of the saves he makes. The best part about Carey Price is how easy he makes the game look. And that's, as a goalie yourself, only goalies can really appreciate that. Everyone loves the massive windmill saves, but for a really hard play, for him to get over, make that look so easy and routine, that's when like this guy's got it.
100%. One of the best of all time, no doubt.
Yeah.
Last question, Matt. One piece of advice for the next generation of goalies.
Just continue to have fun. Find joy in it every single day. Whether it's going good or it's going bad, you can always find one thing that you're going to enjoy. I think if you're able to focus on that one thing through the hard time, you'll eventually, come full circle and realize what you're doing is, you're playing, like I said, a kid's game for a living. It's, you got to really enjoy it at the same time. You got to put the work in. And sometimes, it hurts, it sucks, and you're tired, but giving everything that you have every day, it's going to lead to great things. And it's going to build your mental fortitude. And as a goalie, you're going to need it.
100%. Matt, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Full circle moment for me.
Yeah.
And for the podcast and everything. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. What a blast.
Yeah. And come back anytime. Thank you for watching. Sure. We'll be back in September. Please subscribe, like, all that good stuff on YouTube. Season 2, probably in September, probably in a new studio, definitely not here. And have a great summer. All the best. We'll see you then. If you enjoyed the conversation, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next episode.